You're listening to the Savoir Faire audio experience.
Are you ready?
The Savoir Faire experience is your guide to everything that has to do with lifestyle. From dating, rides, style, and entertainment. All brought to you by the editor of Savoir Faire magazine, Robert White. Anything goes on this audio experience. So, let's go.
It's still the best.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Savoir Faire audio experience. Thank you guys for listening, sharing, commenting, all the fun stuff that you do to keep us relevant. We really appreciate you. Today is another great interview with yet another musical artist. It's been a music day for me, which I love. All my interviews today have been musical artists, so I'm really excited about this. But Dave Wilbert is here. How you doing, Dave?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me in.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate it. Like I said, it was always good to call to my second home, Nashville. It's always good to talk to country artists and people that are kind of making some moves in the music industry and kind of diving into it, head first. And I love that kind of storyline. But I want to just kind of introduce my audience to you, or I'm sorry, other way around, you to my audience, and give a little a back take on some of the stuff that you've had going on here with music. So if you could dive down memory lane with me for a little while, that'd be really cool. I want to learn a little bit about, your backstory and what kind of led you to Nashville, and then obviously where music started for you and where you are now.
Sure. Yep. Sounds good. Fire away.
Yeah. So go ahead. So I'm really interested in your trip to Nashville. You talked to me a little bit off record, but talk to me about your move to Nashville and then how things started developing.
Yeah, so, I was playing in a band in Southern Indiana, a band called Mr. Cowboy. We played everywhere, anywhere they would have us, back in those days. Played with a lot of artists as they came through Southern Indiana. So we started to get some pretty decent exposure. And then, they had those True Value Jimmy Dean Country Music Roundup competitions. I don't know if you remember those.
I was in one, actually.
Yeah, there you go. So were we. We entered. We couldn't get into the one south of Indianapolis. We had missed the deadline or something. So by fate, my drummer was going to radiology school in Vincennes, and he said, there's one down here. Let me get us an entry there. So we ended up getting in it. We won it, the Vincennes regional or whatever. And one of the fellow judges was from Vincennes, and this time, and they actually brought in some Nashville Music City, talent as far as evaluators, and they brought in a fellow named Kerry, Kirk, Phillips, who's from Vincennes, a songwriter. He wrote a lot of the Diffie stuff. He wrote, Down on the Farm for McGraw. I mean, he's written some monsters. That said, they brought him up to be one of the judges. After we won, he approached me, let me know who he was, and the next thing you know, I started making trips down to Hendersonville, Tennessee, where he was living, about twice a week or so, twice a month or so, and just kind of coming down. And because I'd never gone into Nashville, where I grew up in Southern Indiana, went to school at Ball State, which is in Northern Indiana, and I grew up. We didn't really go south of Louisville very often, unless we were going to Florida. So, me coming to Nashville was a big deal, and going out and seeing, songwriters, demo sessions, and all the studios and all that good stuff. And eventually, I just took the plunge. I was working for Peterbilt Motors at the time at a dealership in Southern Indiana, and then came down to work out of the plant, the Peterbilt plant, I mentioned, was in Madison, Tennessee. So. They had a dealership network in Nashville, so I went to work for that group and worked there for about 8 years. So that all being said, came to town. It took time to finally, get some feet under me and figure this town out, the movers and shakers and all that good stuff. So eventually had an opportunity to go cut a record, and thought we were on our way with some record labels. We had a high level interest from the big players in town, and thought we were going to go with one of them, and just didn't work out. God had different plans, and next thing you know, I'm a single father raising 3 kids, and had to really put music down, man. I had to concentrate on just getting them raised and keeping a roof over their head, food on the table, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
but like I said, I wouldn't have traded it. I wouldn't trade it for anything. I got to be their little league coach and recital dad and all that good stuff. So it was cool. It was a great time. And, some time went by, and I needed it though, because I was getting really jaded. The business side of the music industry will drive you crazy, as I'm sure you can probably attest to. It was really starting to affect the creative side of me, and so I stepped away for a good while, raised kids, and then with their nudging, they're like, you know what, you should go back out there and do it. So I kind of said, you know what, I'm going to get after it, and here we are. It's 2025, and got a new project. Really great stuff. I'm really proud of it. Great stuff. Great songwriter friends of mine contributed to this project. I've written a few things, but yeah, that's it. Pulled an old manager out of retirement, Eddie Blunt, and Eddie used to manage Diffie and McGraw and Montgomery Gentry and John Michael, Blake Shelton, and some players like that. So, trying to get the band back together, as they say, and here we go.
I love it, man. I love it. It's so cool. And it's cool that, life kind of takes you down this path where you kind of go to Nashville and that's the whole dream. And then life kind of smacks you in the face and doesn't really let you get there. And then you kind of wait a little while. And obviously, like you did, you fell back, became a dad, started focusing on other things. And then out of nowhere, now you have adult children, and now they're saying, Dad, go out there and get your dream. We want to see you succeed. We know you love this industry. So it's so cool to kind of see you kind of getting out there. And I was listening to your music today, and I love that your music has this really great, like 90s, early 2000s feel to it, which is when I was in Nashville too, and I was hearing that music on the radio all the time. And so it's very nostalgic to hear you kind of putting out new music, but it makes me feel like and sound like the 90s. And that's very, very unique in country music right now, because everyone's got this like super kind of absorbed pop feel to their country music these days. And you still are very extremely raw and kind of in that location where, most people kind of appreciate that genre, but also that era of country music that was coming out. So that's really cool that you still have that sound. So yeah, I mean, I want to dive into a handful of different questions with you, because there's just so many unique things about music and the effects it has on an artist and the things that you get to experience when you're an artist. So you talked about a little bit about like back home Indiana is where you kind of were playing out. I just want to get it from an artist perspective. Talk to me about the first time like performing in Indiana compared to the first time performing in like Nashville, where you go from maybe a non-music city where you're kind of a weekend warrior compared to being out in Nashville where it's like a job now. Like what's the difference between just being live in those audiences and that environment and that feel for you?
Yeah, our first place we ever played out with the band was a place called it was in Jasper, Indiana. Oh my goodness! God,
that was a minute ago.
I had it on my tip of my tongue just a second ago. The Split Rail, Rail, the Split Rail in Jasper, Indiana. It was a cool club. Music around those parts isn't as obviously near as frequent as it is here in Nashville. There's everywhere you go, and every Old Charlie's, there's a there's a karaoke machine, around here. But so it was still intimidating. The first show with my new band out in front of a big club. But it was our first show, and but it was a well attended crowd. It was a bar crowd. It was a bar / honky tonk. And we played. But back in that day, though, there was about one of those in every little town. There might have been one venue, and we'd have to convince them to let us play live music. It wasn't like they had live music all the time. And then we'd have to, basically tell them we're going to bring a crowd. So the Split Rail in Jasper, Indiana was the first show I ever played with Mr. Cowboy. When I came to town here, one of my first, it was more of a singer-songwriter event. It was downtown on Broadway now, where in the area where a lot of the new like Blake Shelton Bar and Dirks's bar and all the kind of the the big wigs. It used to be a little
So like down there
dive
by
down
like
there.
by like Tootsie's in the arena and stuff, right?
Yeah, downtown on Broadway. I did a songwriters night down there with a couple buddies of mine before I even had a band. And sitting in front of me at the time, and I didn't know him from Adam, was John Rich and Big Kenny from Big and Rich. That's before it was between his Lone Star stint and Big and Rich. So I write songs, but I don't call myself a songwriter because there are such tremendously talented songwriters in this town. So that was my first foray into the deep waters of songwriting. So I was certainly intimidated. As far as on stage, I played most of the places downtown, like everybody here and there. But I really concentrated on playing out of Nashville, one, because the money was so much better back then. In town, there wasn't a whole lot of money to be made because everybody was playing for tips,
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't the scene that it is now, So I concentrated on playing out of town quite a bit. I had a place in Franklin, Tennessee, that I played, and it was kind of my home base. It's called Mickey Roo's. It's a barbecue joint, not far from the Franklin High School, but we turned it in. It was a great little honky tonk on Friday and Saturday night.
Nice.
So much so that they built me a stage, and we played there quite a bit, and had a house gig there for a long time. And when I say we, it was me. I'm the only one who moved down here to Nashville from the Nashville Cowboy band. And I formed a new band. We played a lot. It was a lot of fun. So the one thing I will say, the tourists that come to Nashville, they come here because of all the music, because they don't have it in their hometown.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the tourists do appreciate that. I mean, there's so much talent in Nashville. It's crazy. It literally is. There's just, you can't hardly find bad music in town. It's just really solid players. I'd say there's better players than there are vocalists in this town.
Yeah.
There's just great players, and you'll hear it out of every honky tonk in town. So I think the one thing I have found when you're traveling to these small towns, I think there's a great level of appreciation from the folks that come out to see it, because they don't see it and hear it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
In their hometown. Conversely, though, when they come here, they really appreciate it. When they see all the folks out there trying to grind it out, and follow their dreams and ambitions. It's the adrenaline rush is the adrenaline rush. That's why we get on stage. That's why I get on stage. It doesn't matter to me if it's in Nashville or if it's in Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
If there's people out there that are willing to spend their hard-earned money and time to hear us do some singing, then that's what gets you fired up.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I appreciate that too, because I always kind of wondered about some of this stuff. I mean, the artists obviously live and breathe the music and bring it to life, and the crowd participation and letting the artist know that you kind of you feel it, and there's a memory there, kind of singing along, whatever that may be, whatever that looks like. It's kind of unique, and I always thought about, from the stage perspective, like what that looks like, what that feels like, and how that all works. So it's cool that you have some experience with that. Obviously, just getting in front of people and going through it, and I have to kind of right on the coattails there of what you mentioned about Nashville too. I mean, I lived there for a while too. I know the town extremely well. It was a long time ago, but the quality of music industry people that are in Nashville and other cities get this behavior too. LA, New York, Seattle, even Dallas. Now there's even, Oklahoma City kind of still. But for country music, Christian music, gospel, bluegrass, Nashville really has become this very, very strong part of those genres. And so when you go there, and you go there as a musician for sure, or an artist, you are forced to be better. There's no option. I completely understand kind of being in a smaller town and learning and just having good skill. But when you get to a place where everyone is good, then you have to do more to kind of stand out in a crowd. And that's what's so cool about kind of living in a music city, as like Nashville as an example. And you're right. I see a lot of that stuff in Nashville, like really, really great musicians and people really trying to put bands together and trying to find the perfect collaboration to put some kind of project together, really just to get that one single home run so that things can take off.
Sure.
And it's such a unique city that way. And it's cool because there's other city kind of collaborate. I go to New York City quite often, and in New York City, there's this vibe of everyone's out for themselves. Like that's why it's so fast. That's why it's a city that never sleeps. They're all grinding all the time. Nashville is very chill, and I think the collaboration that I kind of feel in Nashville is very unique too, because everyone's trying to get like to the next step, and people are more than willing to kind of intermix and work on projects and do stuff. And obviously everyone wants to get paid most of the time, but like at the end of the day, people really do kind of have a great collaboration there, which is cool. Well, I wanted to ask you more about some of the stuff that you got going on. And we're definitely going to talk about this new single because I was listening to it like on repeat today because I love it. So thank you for that. But I want to know more about your inspiration for writing. Obviously, you have a very unique story for going to Nashville, but like what kind of things are kind of happening around you, or what kind of things do you notice there that maybe are different than what other people notice that help you kind of put these songs together? Because I mean, obviously this song that we're going to talk about here in a little bit, Live from America, it's got a very cool kind of good feel to it, but just talk to me about inspiration and what kind of helps you put pen to paper.
Yeah, I guess every once in a while I get inspired from things I hear or see or do. I guess like I said before, I am not a prolific songwriter. I write songs, but I don't have a huge catalog of just thousands of songs, and I certainly don't get up and write every day. I just I heard an interview from Hank Williams Jr. and not that I'm a writer of his caliber, because I'm not, but he kind of had the same attitude, or at least I think we share the same attitude. It's just when something strikes you. I did write. I guess life experiences motivate me to write. I was in, for example, I've got a song, and it might not be. I think it's on this track. It's on this album, this project. It's called My One and Only. And I was at a resort in Mexico. A really high-end resort that my wife had won a trip through her company, a sales trip, and it was at the One and Only, and it's a place in Mexico, and I highly recommend it. Golly, out of control. But I kept thinking, man, what a prideful name this place, before we went. And then I get there and I'm like, wow, I get it. Yeah, you're overlooking the Pacific Ocean in the rainforest. It's pretty strong. You have your own little cabin or cabana, whatever it is, up in the mountain. It was incredible. I mean, it literally was breathtaking, and it hit me.
Wow.
So her CEO, we were hanging out one night, and he's also a musician, as a hobby, and he said, "Have you ever written a love song for Laura?" And I'm like, I really haven't. And I started thinking about it, and it just hit me. She is my one and only, and I'm at this place called the One and Only. So it's kind of a double entendre, hidden message, that only a few people would know. I guess more now that I'm sharing it with you.
Yeah.
But so it's things like that, where it's kind of, I like cleverly written songs. I guess that's why I probably too like the 90s so well. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I thought there's a lot of clever writing, Clint Black and some of the Diffie stuff, and just a lot of the George Strait songs. My inspirations are, Haggard and Dwight Yoakam. Those are probably my two favorite. Alan Jackson, of course. But, so it's just things that I see. I wrote a song that's also on this project years and years ago, and it was about, literally about my little girls at the time, called the Cabin Song. So it's just, my stuff probably is more a reflection of things and events that I see. I don't try to write to be catchy or I don't try to write a bunch of cliches like, truck songs are popular now. Let's go out and write a truck song,
Uh-huh.
Or, you know what I mean? Like you have that, there's a lot of copycat, as you know, in this town. Once a record hits a theme, let's say it has the word dirt in it. Well, you can expect the next 5 singles out on the radio are going to have something about dirt. I mean, it's just the way it is, like,
Yeah.
oh, they had a hit with Dirt. Let's put a song out with Dirt in it, and so I don't really care to follow. I just write what I write and hopefully write it as good as I can. I do have some songs that are more of a social commentary. A song called "The World's Going Crazy" that was really going back post-COVID world where we were locked down, and there's a lot of things now that have come out that said some of the advice we were given wasn't necessarily the best advice we should have been given. So
Yeah.
I like I said, I just but I woke up. Last week I was in Wisconsin, and I woke up last Thursday with a song idea because in Wisconsin they've got a beer called Happy Cow, and or something like Spotted Cow, Happy Cow, something like that. It's unique to Wisconsin, and I thought it would be kind of funny to write not funny but clever, but Wisconsin people would get it, about getting into a herd of spotted cow or something like that,
Right.
So
right.
every now and again, I'll have these little unique things that pop in my mind, and I do keep a whole in my phone. I've got a whole bunch of hook book, the hooks, or what I mean, song titles.
Okay. Yeah.
So I do capture those pretty frequently. If something strikes me, I'll put it in my little book, and then whenever I do write with a fellow named Jason Matthews. Probably the most, and Jason's a big time writer. I mean, the big Billy Currington song, the biggest one of his career. Jason wrote that, and a bunch of other things too. Luke Bryant stuff, this, that, and the other. But so a lot of times I'll have these ideas, and then when I get with him, I'll just throw some at him and see which ones stick. And then he and I have a pretty good track record of writing, pretty decent songs as long as I let him do the most of the writing.
That's cool, man. No, I think I appreciate that just as much as anybody else does that. You kind of open sourced with like working with really great writers and putting some really solid stuff together. I was looking at the list of the songs today too that are on this new album. Obviously, we're going to talk about this new single that just got released, but like there are some banger songwriters on this album with you. Obviously,
Sure.
Kerry, Kirk, Phillips, who you mentioned already, who brought you to Nashville. Then Phil O'Donnell, Jason Matthews. Like all of us know Doug Supernaw as an artist, but also an excellent songwriter.
Sure.
These guys are just legendary names from the songwriting field that you were able to connect with. So I mean, I'm excited to hear the whole album. I was able to listen to this song that you released, obviously, most recently, Live from America at Saturday night. I want to dive into this. Talk to me a little bit about this song and kind of like your take on what this is and what you like about it so much.
Yeah, so, I grew up in southern Indiana, a little town north of Vernon, Indiana, which was 12 miles from Seymour, Indiana, which is the birthplace of John Mellencamp, right?
Yeah.
So, I was heavily influenced by Mellencamp. I think it's a law in Indiana that every 5 minutes, Johnny Cougar Mellencamp must play on the radio somewhere, because it does happen. It's a real thing. So no, I was heavily influenced by Mellencamp, and just his because I am a Midwesterner. I was born and raised in southern Indiana. You don't get more Midwest than that. Little farm town, lots of corn, lots of pigs, lots of beans. And wouldn't trade it for anything. Great place to grow up. Some of my very best friends still live there. But the song, and then also I like the Tom Pettys of the world. I had a guitar player buddy of mine that was really into Petty. So every now and again we throw a Petty song into the set and let him just so he could just tear it up.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of reminded me of a song that either Petty, if Mellencamp and Petty got together and wrote a song, that it could be this. You know what I mean? It just kind of had that feel, just heartland of America, meets North Florida Panhandle and Petty, and just I don't know, just kind of had that vibe. I've had the song in my back pocket for a long time. It was in a different, the demo version is different than what you hear now. Changed up a few things. Just to give it, like you said, it has a 90s feel, but with a modern sound. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yep.
It's modern. You know, I couldn't have if I would have played it the way they played it, it would have sounded like it was 20 years old. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Now some great songs are that old before they get cut. You know, it's just the reality of it. You know, some songs, The Gambler was cut by everybody in town and given up on before Kenny Rogers ever got it. Johnny Cash got a version of The Gambler that's terrible. I mean, it just he didn't catch it. You know what I mean? He didn't get it. It didn't land.
Yep.
So sometimes great songs sometimes take time to come out. For whatever reason. And I'm not saying this is a gambler. Please don't misinterpret what I'm saying. I'm just saying some great songs have a way of finding themselves to the public. I believe eventually.
Yeah.
Maybe a windy road, and maybe under a bush or under a rock or whatever. But this is one of those. It's a great song. I've had it in my hip pocket for a long time. Played it out for a long time just to see reaction, and people dig it. I mean, people just dig it, and now that we have modernized it, of course I had to put some cowbell in there, put some cow. I co-produced this record. So I was like, you know what this song needs is some cowbell. So after the solo, for about the next 8 measures or so, there's a cowbell in there for sure.
Yeah. I got
but no, in all seriousness though, it's just a great song. And like you said, it just, to me, it speaks to, it's not we're not putting ourselves in a box where we're only singing to youngsters or older folks or whatever. I mean, it's good for everybody. It's kind of the American spirit, I mean, just, it's Small Town by Mellencamp meets Country Boy Can't Survive by Junior meets Won't Back Down by Tom Petty. Or, you know what I mean? It's just kind of to me, it falls in, like if I was putting a playlist, it'd slide in with any of those songs,
Yeah, I mean, it really just kind of embodies, from my perspective, listening to it today, it really just embodies like the one night of the week that everyone's so dang excited for. It's Saturday night.
Sure.
We're going to go out. We're going to see our friends. We're going to go have a beer, go to a honky tonk, whatever. Like it's an American tradition to go out on a Saturday night. And I think this song just kind of just grabs that feeling a little bit and allows you to have that any day of the week, as long as you can hit the play button on the music. Right. So that's what I picked up on and liked so much about it, is that you really just took something that everyone experiences, all generations, all ages. I mean, 21 plus kind of, but ideally Saturday night was the night for everybody just to get out there and have a good time and cut loose from the week. And that's what this song really embodies.
No. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you summed it up better than I did.
I'll send you I'll send you the text so you can use it on the album.
That's it. Yeah. No, it just, we all grew up, hopefully, I feel like I'm pretty special because I grew up in a small town where, we go out to we called it the farm, my buddy's father's place, or my other buddy's place. We called it the back 40, and,
mm-hmm.
bonfire, acoustic guitars, some cold beers, and just living, just dreaming about, what we're going to do or just dreaming in general, it's just fellowship, it's camaraderie. And, or family, or like a family reunion. I mean, some of my favorite memories are with my family on the East Coast, and, wasn't engaging in any type of beer drinking or anything like that. It was just having that family, together, and that bond, and, the American spirit. Not everybody's lucky like us, to blessed like us, to live where we live and have what we have. And this is a song that hopefully embodies and recognizes that gift.
Yeah, I think so too, man. Well, I definitely appreciate, this song and the message here. As a songwriter, fellow songwriter, I highly recommend anyone to go and listen to Dave Wilbert's music. It's davewilbertmusic.com is his website. If you go there, there's a nice little long panel of all the social places where you can find Dave and follow his career. His music is over there. What's 2025 touring schedule? Where can people see you live?
Hopefully in a honky tonk near them soon. I'm coming off of a pretty bad injury. Last May I was trying to fix my gutters on my roof and decided to slide off my roof and land on my concrete sidewalk.
Oh my
Shattered.
goodness.
Yeah, I shattered my right heel bone. And the heel bone, the scientific name is called calcaneus bone for those listening, is where a lot of your almost all your nerve endings come at, it's the end of your body, right? So extremely painful. Had to go to Vanderbilt and have about a 4 or 5 hour surgery, plates and screws, and wasn't able to drive, wasn't able to walk, was in a recliner for about 3 months. So it really slowed everything down, big time. And so much so, it's funny, 2 days before I fell off the roof, we put the music down for this project. And then I didn't put the vocals on it until, that was May 21st, when I fell. I didn't put the vocals on it until September sometime, where I could hobble into the studio and stand. So I have still got, they said it's about a 1.5, 2 year recovery. To where you feel completely mobile again. So I just played a show 2 nights ago in Nashville. It was a benefit thing for Alzheimer's and dementia. And then I hope to be, gosh, I'd love to come play New York, man. I would love to go play
I love
New
that,
York,
brother. That'd be great.
I would love it. So just stay tuned, man. I guess check the website. As we get dates, we'll start populating them, and then obviously we'll be doing some blasting when we're coming your way. But I would love to go up and play New York. And my family is from New Jersey. My father and my now I don't have any, but we'll have some extended family right on the coast, running Spring Lake Heights, Jersey Shore area. So it would be great. And I have great friends in Philadelphia, so it'd be great to go back and go play, man. I would love it.
Yeah, that's solid. Well, if there's anybody in that area, make sure you go over to Dave Wilbert Music and send this man a message. Try to get connected.
Get me out there. Come on.
Yeah,
find me a place to play.
I'm for it, brother. No problem. So again, Dave, thanks so much, man. I really do kind of appreciate connecting with artists in general, but obviously Nashville being a second home for me. I love kind of just using my platform to lift people up from that area. So I'm so grateful for our time to chit chat and talk about music today. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man, my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me in. I really appreciate it, brother.
Thank you for listening to the show. Please take a minute to head over to www.savfair.com and subscribe to our publication.